Whales once breached here, somewhere above where I am now standing, thigh-deep in sawgrass at the river's headwaters. They did so worldwide, of course, back when they were something other than whales, and land was little more than the remnants of angry, fuming volcanic pinnacles. But age is the great divider, and geological time, or the lack of it, was, and still is, what has made Florida and its waterways unique. 250 million years ago, when the Shenandoah Valley was becoming the mountainous gully that would carry the river of the same name, Florida was where marine animals still came to dream. It was the sea, blue and endless, and it swept freely over sand and coral, unrestrained. It did so at least until 20 million years ago, when the sandbars and keys that represented the nascent peninsula first emerged from the sea, west of my spot here in the grass, water, and peat. The oldest and highest of these sand pits would evolve into the central ridge along the spine of the peninsula, providing a point of reference against which subsequent shorelines would later define themselves. And define they did, reforming at least 8 different prehistoric coasts during assorted ice ages, sending the sea level up and down by as much as 400 feet. The oceans ebbed into ice at the massive polar caps, and then, during interglacial warming, flooded back out again, repeatedly soaking the shore that would rim modern Florida like the froth of the surf over coquina shells. During the last series of these reformations, when the appendage that would be Florida was as truncated as it appears on old Spanish maps, the terrain that would hold the St. Johns River Valley finally arose. This valley was born as a deep saltwater lagoon, bordered by a perforated line of sea islands and bars to the east, and by the ancient ridge to the west. The time was 100,000 years ago, and sea level was 42 feet higher than it is today. In this way, then, the basin that would one day cradle the St. Johns was not molded by the tortuous chasm of shifting plate rocks or scooped out by tedious erosion through a steep ravine. Rather, it cascaded down from the sea in a timeless trickle of shell and sand and bone of animals and calciferous plants, marine life that once swam, crawled, and took root here. The walls of this valley were constructed of ancient dunes and terraces, shaped into north-south contours by the energy of the wind and the spindrift of the prevailing currents offshore. But the ocean that shaped the early basin of the river was not through yet. When the sea level dropped one last time, and the coast and dune line migrated even closer toward the Atlantic, the function of the marine lagoon moved with it, setting up shop inside the parallel basin of what would become the Indian River. Left behind, bereft of its estuarine nature, the just slightly older inland valley did what many of Florida's brand new residents continue to do today. It recreated itself.